I know that you all help public television, and I just wanted you to know that I'm grateful for that because I got in on it real early on, you know, back in the early 50s. And I also want you to know that we've discovered that the children who seem to be able to use our program best are the ones who have already experienced a deep investment of love in their own homes. So it's because you first loved them that they're able to accept anything that we have to give them on the air. So I'm grateful that you've welcomed us into your homes and into your own neighborhoods. We're glad to be part of your growing family. It's such a good feeling to know you're alive. It's such a happy feeling. You're growing inside, and when you wake up, ready to say, I think I'll make a snappy new day. Good. It's such a good feeling, a very good feeling. The feeling you know that I'll be back when the day is new, and I'll have more ideas for you, and you'll have things you'll want to talk about. I will too.
Over the last 60 years, WBGU-PBS has captured the history, events, and personal stories of the Northwest and West Central Ohio region, with productions such as Music for Every Occasion, To Dance Irish, and Bobcats in Paris. Let's look back now and dive into the archives, starting with the year 1982 and the story of the Great Black Swamp.
If you've ever traveled through Northwest Ohio, you were probably struck by how flat the land is here and how intensively farmed the place is. Night and day, around the clock, never seeming to relax when the growing season is upon us. This is some of the richest, most productive farmland in the country. What's astonishing is that not long ago, less than 100 years ago, this place was an abysmal, human-forsaken swamp. So heavily forested with giant oak, elm, hickory, sycamore, cottonwood, ash, and maple that you couldn't see the light of day here during the summer months. Underwater in all except the driest months of the year, and even then, water filled your footsteps as you walked. Infested with mosquitoes, gnats, horseflies, crawling with snakes, moccasins, water rats, and prowled by ravaging wolves and wildcats. No wonder the first white people who saw the place called it the Great Black Swamp.
Our diplomats to Poland, the Madrigal Singers. 17 high school students from Bowling Green, Ohio, under the direction of James Brown. The tour consisted of 5 major cities: Warsaw, Lublin, Krakow, Wrocław, and Poznan. They all toured the cities and places of Poland with open hearts, sharing the international language of music. Every beginning has an ending, and so does this time spent in another country with another people who live with many of the same dreams and aspirations that we live with. The common denominator is people. People of warmth, giving, caring, multifaceted people, living, raising children, looking to the future, surviving the past. Their government is different, but their hearts are the same.
We leave Poland and our new friends with a certain reluctance, but also with a tremendous respect for your country and your people. We've all been touched and somehow changed by this experience. May God watch between you and us while we are apart from one another.
When I think of snow, I usually think of outdoors, downhill skiing, sledding, tobogganing, having a lot of fun outside. Christmas.
When I think of snow, I think of building snowmen and the peaceful, muffled noises of the cars going by. Happy times.
Peace and quiet and whiteness.
Tunnels, making tunnels and igloos and fun time.
When I think of snow, I think of cold, powdery, potentially fun, but potentially dangerous substance.
Snow is often a reminder of fun times. However, snow can have tragic effects. This was true Friday, January 26, 1978. The worst winter storm in Ohio history slammed into the northwest corner of the state. Temperatures plunged 30 degrees in about 2 hours, and wind chills measured below -50 degrees through much of Ohio. A devastating wind and a deep blanket of snow paralyzed all transportation. People stranded in vehicles, trapped in unheated homes, or caught outdoors were targets for a freezing death. This program presents eyewitness stories from the people of Northwest Ohio who lived through this storm. Stories of survival, courage, humor, and death. It also tells the story of people pulling together during a fearful time.
Just incredible, the community, the sense of community that developed, and I think remained for many years thereafter, even to today, to the blizzard survivors.
The Bowling Green High School Madrigal Singers, its director, and several chaperones set out from Ohio on a journey across the Atlantic. Hungarian interpreter Anita Förster keeps everything running smoothly and on schedule.
Can you recall the date when? Sort of? 758. Oh, close, but it's 896, okay? it was just 100 years. It's nothing in history, really, okay? Good, yes.
Anita is simply an amazing guide and translator. In addition to her organizational skills, she is caring, helpful, professional, and in good humor. This Easter afternoon, the group arrives at St. Stephen's Basilica.
Sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
Boy, how to put this into words? Things I've seen in pictures and books for years, and you walk in here and you just cannot stop saying, wow. It's just indescribable. That's amazing. It is huge.
God's grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved.
I just hope my flash is going off, because I gotta have these pictures.
In the 1950s and 60s, Heinz Farm was the place for blues and rhythm and blues in Northwest Ohio.
They had good music and pretty girls.
But it was more than just a nightclub.
There were softball games, motorcycle racing. They even had skeet shooting out there.
The story of the Heinz Farm Blues Club.
Every day I have the blues.
1999, the band received an invitation to march in La Grande Parade à Paris on January 1st, 2001. Another surprise came while waiting for the metro.
Is that awesome or what?
For all of Paris to see, the Bowling Green Bobcats on the front page of the paper.
That's awesome.
The Bobcats seemed to be more relaxed. They began to appreciate some of the things that are different from home. La Tour Eiffel is just as amazing in daylight as it is in the dark.
We don't have one of these at home.
Getting this overview of the city was good for my friends.
Nous sommes ici.
To watch more of your favorite documentaries, visit our website at WBGU.org. Here, you'll find a vast collection of specials and stories from across the local area.
Baseball in Japan presents some of the interesting differences between Japanese and American baseball. Actually, the game of baseball took root in Japan well over a century ago. Horace Wilson, an American teacher in Tokyo, introduced the game in 1873 to the island country. The development of the Japanese professional leagues actually started in 1934. Most of the original teams, such as the Giants, Tigers, and Dragons, formed the core of the Central Division. There are two professional leagues in Japan, the Central and the Pacific, each containing 6 teams. The rules for American and Japanese baseball are the same with a few exceptions. The most notable difference? Japanese umpires call a wider strike zone. Perhaps the strongest part of the Japanese game is the pitching. Although pitchers usually don't overpower a hitter, they're excellent at brushing the corners of the plate and working the count. Japanese baseball fans are loud, producing one of the most deafening roars in the sports world. Many have been Hanshin Tiger fans all their lives. There are many beautiful and unusual aspects to Japanese baseball. One of the most colorful is the 7th inning balloon release. Japanese baseball is a fascinating reflection of Japanese culture. There are many things which give this American game a truly Japanese signature. The selfless approach to team play, the awesome energy of the fans, the traditional Japanese food, the advanced technology, and the simple excitement of a good play. The Japanese also have ideas to exchange with their American counterparts, such as approaches to conditioning, training, and batting practice. Baseball in Japan may be an important common ground between two completely different ways of life.
Next, on Dwight Perry, A Coach for Life. Dwight enjoyed his success in the Mid-American Conference in relative obscurity. Like all good coaches, Dwight was first a student of the game. He began his career at Bowling Green in 1929. In 1951, this notoriety brought him to the attention of Woody Hayes. As backfield coach, Dwight was credited by Woody as one of the masterminds behind Ohio State's powerful offense. When Dwight returned to Bowling Green, he was 45 years old. He'd been a high school teacher and coach for 16 years, and an assistant to Ohio State for another 4. By the start of the '55 season, Bowling Green was a new team. Playing with a newfound confidence, the Falcons won 6 of its first 7 games. To most coaches, winning was enough. But Deutsch wanted something more from his players. He wanted perfection. In 1957, the Falcons committed more fumbles and penalties than their opponents. 1958 brought even more frustration. The 1959 squad gathered amidst lowered expectations. The 59 Falcons were perfectly tailored for Deutsch's motivational style. Bowling Green had its second MAC championship and its first perfect undefeated season. The 1964 Falcons finished with a 9-1 record to capture their third MAC championship in 4 years. For Deutsch, it was his last championship. After the season, he stepped down as head coach to become Bowling Green's athletic director. In December of 1988, a number of Deutsch's protégés gathered in New York to witness his induction into the College Football Hall of Fame. Today, a football stadium stands in Bowling Green, and fittingly, the biggest classroom on campus is named for someone who was both coach and teacher. But Deutsch's real legacy will always be in the players who take the field, in every effort they make, and in every victory they share. And most of all, his legacy lives on in the people who knew him best.
A legacy of excellence, a future without limits, is the theme of Bowling Green State University's centennial anniversary celebration in 2010. The roots of women's basketball at BGSU can be traced all the way back to 1918. Eventually, the demand for more advanced competition forced the university to create a women's intercollegiate program in the early 60s. It was 1963 when the BGSU women's basketball team played its first intercollegiate game. A homespun Frida Falcon was also created to appear at the women's games as early as 1973, long before she officially joined Freddie in 1980. Bowles' coaching tenure was enhanced, with women's basketball becoming part of the Mid-American Conference in 1981-82. It was March 15th, 1989, and this time the Falcons prevailed, 69-59, before a capacity crowd in Anderson Arena. The chemistry was working its magic in the 1997-98 season, as the Falcons went 21-8 overall and 15-3 in the MAC. A new era began for BGSU women's basketball in 2001 when Kurt Miller became head coach. 2005-2006 included winning the MAC regular season title and repeating as MAC tournament champs. The 2007 class finished with an overall record of 103 wins and 25 losses, winning 31 games in the 2006-2007 season, the most ever by any men's or women's MAC team. 2007-2008 season, the Falcons finished with a 26-8 record, going 13-3 in the MAC, bringing home another regular season championship. Bowling Green State University women's basketball, truly a legacy of excellence and a future without limits.
T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
On July 20th, 1969, Neil Alden Armstrong stepped on the moon.
The Eagle has landed. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
I think he was living his own life just like he wanted to do. Neil was totally self-motivated, totally engrossed in learning.
Neil, in my mind, he was foremost a pilot and a test pilot. And he was chosen because of his abilities and skills in order to do that.
Knew him, and I thought he was one of the greatest men I ever seen, and he'd talk to me just like a human being.
I think the people in general around here were very proud of Neil with his accomplishment on the moon, probably more so than what Neil was himself.
There was only two type of jobs for black women, and I had no desire to be either one.
Growing up in the 50s, you could be a nurse, you could be a teacher, you could be a housewife. But those seemed to be sort of the limits of women.
I would be in a room with all men, and I got used to it. After a while, it doesn't matter.
It's pretty hard to carry your case unless you're pretty outspoken and pretty stubborn.
I never, ever thought that someday I would be in Congress. No one in our family had ever gone to college or finished high school.
Girls just weren't seen as legacies. So at the end of the day, when he looked around, there was nobody left but me.
My husband's comment to me was, good grief, you're spending every day down there anyway. Why don't you run for mayor? It had nothing to do with being a woman. It was, I knew I could do the job.
My advice to women who are considering running for office or who should be considering running for office, never, never say, well, I'm not qualified to do that, because you underestimate yourself. You have a genuine right to be sitting at the table or sitting at the desk holding office.
I used to say, run for something you can win. But I thought back on all of my situations. I don't think people thought I would win. You run if you want to run, and run like the dickens.
The Mazza, what is so wonderful about that place?
The Mazza is my home.
The Mazza is terrific. It is an innovator.
A place like the Mazza is a great experience for kids to have.
To describe Mazza Museum in one word, I would have to say magical.
Their mission is the same as mine, They tell the story behind the story.
One of the most powerful things that the Mazza Museum has is the ability to communicate with children globally with this repository of amazing picture book art.
Mazza is just not this little entity in Findlay, Ohio, but is becoming world known.
They're doing some of the most important work in children's literature, bringing the message of children's literature to the general public, to teachers, to educators, to children.
They can go there and see all this art on the wall, and it represents all these people all over the world, all over the country, who've made a career making art.
I want kids to know that they can do it just like I could do it. I would like a young person to be able to go into the Mazza and realize that they can do anything, and that this world is filled with magic.
To watch more of your favorite documentaries, visit our website at WBGU.org. Here, you'll find a vast collection of specials and stories from across the local area.